Slabbed Cinema, grading film and television like collectibles. Is it a Mint 10.0 or a 1.2 dog? Let's find out.
Cancel that order. What? Why?
It's time to review The Lost World, aka Jurassic Park 2. Welcome to the clean room. Is it a lost world or did they lose the plot thread? Let's grade it and find out. Entertainment value.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6. Couple of good scenes with the T-Rexes and that kind of stuff. Everybody loves big dinosaurs, so I'll give it a 6 just for that.
I think entertainment value wise, I'm going to give this one some more love than I would other categories. I'm going to give it a 9, and I'm just giving it a 9 because I always wondered, what would it be like if a T-Rex was in somebody's backyard? What would happen? And this movie answered that question for me.
I'm going to go 8.5. This is not as entertaining as Jurassic Park. There is a lot of heavy lifting at the beginning of this movie, a lot of exposition.
InGen is my responsibility now, Doctor.
It was nostalgic for me. It was 80s, 90s sequel where you have a massively successful film that's not automatically serialized. So you have to spend a lot of time explaining why we're doing this again. But from the minute that the two T-Rex scene with the trailers, when night falls on the island, the entertainment ratchets up and it just keeps going. So I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. Rewatchability.
Ironically enough, this is the movie in the series that I've seen the most times, because when I finally got a VCR in my room, which is when I was in high school, that kind of ages me a little bit, but when I finally got a VCR in my room when I was in high school, this was one of the 4 movies that I had on VHS, so I watched them over and over again. This is before streaming, folks. So I would tell you that even though I've seen it more than anything else in this series, I think for rewatchability, I've got to go 2.5. Okay, because since the streaming world has opened my eyes to other possibilities, I have not found myself going back and watching The Lost World several times.
Rewatchability, I'll give it a 7.5. Yeah, 7.5, because it's rewatchable, because after I watched the first Jurassic Park, I want to keep going, and it's enough to get me in the door and say, okay, I want to see Ian Malcolm.
And I was hoping that perhaps you might be the fourth.
I want to see the T-Rex on the cliff scene, and I really want to see the epic guy who's quoting things constantly, hunting a dinosaur, and realizes it didn't work out. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I'm gonna give it. Now I don't know if my math is gonna work here, but I'm gonna give it an 8, because I'd say about 70% of the movie is a 10, and then the other 30% of the movie is a 0. So if I was to rewatch this, I would start with that cliff scene and then stop a couple minutes after they get to San Diego, around the car chase, so I wouldn't rewatch the whole movie, but there's a middle section there that's highly rewatchable. Execution.
Just because this is based on a source, and because I have read the source, I do have to give the execution a little bit of a slide down as well. I'm going to give it a 4 on execution. The whole thing in San Diego didn't happen in the source, and a whole bunch of the premise of the mission was completely different. There were characters in the book that were not present. Sattler, for example, just a couple of things, but I got to give it a little bit of props, just because I did love Jeff Goldblum and Vince Vaughn. I believe this was Vince Vaughn's first movie, if I'm not mistaken.
He did send a backup plan.
What backup plan?
Me.
So this is something that kind of introduced him to film. So that's something that's pretty awesome. But for the most part, yeah, not as bad as the rewatchability, but also still lacking.
Yeah, I'll go low on this one. I'll go a 6, because there's some stuff that just doesn't work in this movie. The whole boat scene where the boat crashes in and it's oh, look what happened to him on the boat, but then the T-Rex is in the cargo hold is a confusing moment for a movie that's unnecessary. Even if you could talk it out and be oh, this is what happened, that doesn't need to happen in a movie where most people are going to not want to think that deeply about, okay, ship crashed, everyone's goo, but T-Rex is locked in the cargo hold. How did that happen? That alone gives it a 6 for me.
I'm gonna go 7. Now the whole jump from the island to San Diego is an editing nightmare because you have no idea like where are we now and why aren't we how did we get off the island and why is everybody here, and they just show up at the dock, or like why are we at the dock?
At the dock that they were going to.
Yeah, but
they were going to San Diego, and without a crew, they made it to San Diego. Anyway, continue, Dan.
Yeah. So, but still, it's Steven Spielberg, it's John Williams, and just some of the execution. Nobody builds tension in a scene like Spielberg. Again, I gotta go back to that cliff scene where the glass is cracking and she's reaching for the bar to not fall, and he's reaching for her, and then the other guy's reaching for the bag so it doesn't fall on the glass, and then the guy's trying to get the cable for the winch. It's just like that's a master class. And there are scenes where Steven Spielberg does the very Spielberg thing where you have dust, obstructed images, wide shots, it's dark to help your effects out. But I do have to knock it down to 7 because when they first roll out the effects, it's got that late 90s, early 2000s thing where they're really too proud of their CGI. They really look like cartoon dinosaurs in the broad daylight crossing that river. Originality.
First of all, it was an adapted work, so for originality, I don't know how I'm exactly supposed to gauge that, but it is not done well from an adapted perspective or from an original perspective. The original stuff they added didn't make a lot of sense, so I've just got to go ahead and keep this one pretty low. I'm going to keep it like a 3. I'll say 3.5. Just make it 3.5. There was a lot of stuff that was lacking here in the film that they could have ratcheted up a little bit. But
yeah, I'm going to be brutal too. I guess I'd go like a 4. A 4 based the concept, the story, all that stuff. There was nothing groundbreaking here, nothing really revolutionary. There were some moments that I really liked. Like there's some moments of originality, I would say. There's some moments of dialogue I really liked too, because they had the Hunter character does throw down some like cool, make you think morality. And that was kind of nice to see in a movie like this. Cause I was like, okay, wait a minute. We're hanging off the cliff. We're doing all this stuff, but this guy's over here dropping like real life takeaways. So I'll give it a 4.
I'm going to give it my lowest ranking out of my rankings, but still higher than you guys. I think I like this one better than you guys, but I'm going to go 5 because the island stuff is very 90s, 80s, 90s sequel where you just do the same stuff you did in the first one, only bigger and louder and maybe bloodier. And then a lot of the really original stuff was when they get to San Diego. I did like dinosaurs terrorizing the city, which 6 movies in, and apparently after 7, we still haven't got a whole movie of dinosaurs terrorizing the city, and I feel like it's sitting right there for them. That's all our rankings for The Lost World, aka Jurassic Park 2. The last one was Steven. So we crunched the numbers, and our final tally is at 5.9. Slabbed.
Slabbed Cinema.